Welcome in after an exciting football weekend. And what better way to recap the exciting football weekend than to hit the air raid sirens? Time for Monday Morning Fallout. He did it gracefully. Where we overreact to the football weekend. I have some thoughts.
Okay.
Would you like me to share them?
I guess. Not really, but I'm here.
Overreact to the football weekend. We'll start with my opening thought. There's always one. So, I would need to go back and do some research. And what do I have to do these days? I would have to go back and do some research and figure out when it was in each round of the playoffs that everything went crazy town banana pants. Because sometimes it's not often the first round.
No.
That's not often. There are some big stunners, but it's not often the first round. It seems like it's usually either area round or the regional semifinals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually Thanksgiving weekend. In the past handful of years, Thanksgiving weekend on the regional semifinals has been when everything has just.
And yet, here we are now in the state semifinals, coming off of a regional final round that I can only describe as rebel-inducing.
It was insane.
Absolutely seismic across the state. And maybe it's because it ends up that last week there were 11 rematches, and the team that won went 6-5.
Mm-hmm.
So there were 5 teams that returned receipts. Maybe that's part of it. But there were also games that weren't rematches that had that. Gilmer beats Carthage.
Mm-hmm.
That is a game that was so far off our radar. Even though we think highly of Gilmer, just so far off our radar because I think we just assumed, you know what, Carthage got their scare.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're going to do what they normally do to Gilmer, which is to beat them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're in a state semifinal. They don't lose in state semifinals.
No.
And then they're in a state championship games, and they've literally never lost in a state championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Remember, Gilmer had lost 8 straight to Carthage. 8 straight. That one was stunning. I think we talked about it a little bit on Friday on our live mailback show. Ganado over Refugio is stunning, and we should acknowledge how stunning it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge, huge upset. Right?
That one is even more of an upset in my mind than Gilmer Carthage from a historic perspective. I don't think from necessarily this year's team, but from a historic perspective, shocking.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Brownsville Veterans Memorial over Corpus Christi Miller is maybe not a huge upset, but the way it went down and the context around it and what it means for the Rio Grande Valley certainly puts it in that category of seismic, right? I think there's that. I also think that you look at some games like San Antonio Davenport being Port Lavaca Calhoun, right? And the margin by which they beat them, by 35. Pretty impressive. Sunray beating Clarendon by 61.
Yeah.
What Albany did to Collinsville, right? To me, those are games that also get put into the whoa category. What Chilton did to Falls City. I picked Chilton. I picked Sunray. I picked Albany. But I picked them in like 10 points, maybe 7-10. It was a seismic weekend of high school football, and the stage is now set for the state semifinals. Game of the week, Tidehaven 34, Poth 28 in double overtime. This game was bizarre, honestly. It was really bizarre. Poth jumped out 21-0 on Tidehaven. And you're thinking, they're just going to squish them. Mm-hmm. That's exactly because that's what Poth does. That's what Poth does. They get up on you, and then they just go, okay. They do that thing where, like, when you have a little brother, and, like, they're trying to swing at you, and you just hold their hand out there. And he's like, yeah. That's what they do.
Yep.
And Poth, or Tidehaven, rallies back, forces overtime, forces a second overtime, and in the second overtime, gets a stop and a game-winning touchdown run to knock off the state runner-up from a year ago and move on to their first state semifinal since, was it 1981? I had this written down somewhere. Tidehaven's in a semifinal for the first time since 1981. I did have that right. Good job, Greg. Game of the week, undisputedly. Fantastic ball game. Am I overreacting? Did SMU get hosed?
Yeah. Yeah, they really did.
So SMU wins the American Athletic Conference Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, Texas does not think highly of, or Tulane does not think highly of the state of Texas right now.
No. They stole their
Houston
coach.
steals their coach.
SMU beats them in the championship.
Yeah. We'll talk about Willie Fritz tomorrow. This is and so they win their conference championship. And because of that, there is talk of like, all right, New Year's 6.
Yep.
They can be the highest rated Group of 5 team.
Mm-hmm. Most of the time, the American is.
Instead, they put unbeaten Liberty over them. Now, Liberty is undefeated.
Mm-hmm. But tell me about strength of schedule.
Conference USA is, all due respect to our friends in Conference USA.
Love Conference USA. It's butt.
But it's a butt conference this year. It's a butt conference. And Liberty edges them out. I think it was 23 versus 24. Is that right in the college football playoff?
Yes.
And so then you're thinking, okay, well, they're still the American Athletic Conference champions. Certainly, they're going to go to a good bowl, right? Certainly they're going to get a nice bowl, and everything will be fantastic. Instead, they will get Boston College in the Fenway Bowl.
That's it. That's the thing. It's just the fact that, like, it's one thing to miss a New Year's 6 bowl.
No.
To get the Fenway Bowl against Boston College?
This sucks. Boston College is 6-6.
Like,
there is literally nothing for SMU to gain in this one.
No.
They can't gain recruiting exposure because who cares in Massachusetts?
Mm-hmm.
They don't recruit in that part of the world anyway.
No.
They're playing, by the way, a future conference opponent.
Mm-hmm. I get why Liberty being undefeated definitely meant something. I understand that.
It.
But a better bowl.
I get it. I don't like it, but I get it.
Yeah.
And as a homer, I am allowed to be like, no, SMU should have gotten it.
Right. But I get it. But I do not get playing Boston College in the Fenway Bowl.
Absolutely.
That's hot garbage.
Absolutely not. It was tough. It was a real whiplash week for SMU. Weekend. Time for the Dudes Rock Dude of the Week. Perhaps the original Dudes Rock Dude of the Week.
He does rock.
The dude who rocks is Armando Luan, the quarterback for Sunray, who went for 8 total touchdowns, 7 passing, and 1 rushing in their absolute romp over Clarendon. Pickle, can I give you some numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Armando Luan now has 80 total touchdowns this season. Kyler Murray, his best year at 78. Only one person has ever scored more touchdowns, been responsible for more touchdowns. That's Nick Gerber.
Mm-hmm. At a level in.
He has 4,000 yards passing, 968 yards rushing. Here's a complete list of quarterbacks who have ever thrown for 4,000 and run for 1,000. So he needs 32 more yards. Kyler Murray, and Tyreek Rollison at Sulphur Springs. That's the whole list.
That's insane.
Sunray quarterback Armando Luan. Dudes rock. Time for Tepper's Play of the Week. There was a number of plays, but this was one that I didn't pay a ton of attention to Duncanville and Spring Westfield.
It was a romp.
Because it got, like, by the time I got to, like, Twitter and I got to my computer, Duncanville's already up.
Yes.
But Greg Powers tweeted this play. It was their opening touchdown, and at this point, you had to feel like Spring Westfield knew that they were on borrowed time. It's Keelan Russell to Corian Moore, and what in the world are you supposed to do with that? They could have the Baltimore Ravens out there in the secondary, and I'm not sure there's anything they can do with that.
No. Insane.
That set the tone for Duncanville in their romp over Spring Westfield. That is my play of the week. Quick break for a hot take. The College Football Committee, Playoff Committee, is not a football entity. It's important to remember this as we're all kind of processing what they did. Now, I want to be very clear. I think they got the top 3 exactly right. I think Michigan should be number 1. I think Washington should be number 2. I think Texas should be number 3. It should be Texas versus Washington in the Sugar Bowl. That's great. Great work. 3/4 of the way there. You get a 75%. They leave unbeaten Florida State out and put Alabama in instead. 12-1 Alabama. It is moments like this where it is important to remember that their job is not to put together a football game. Their job is to put together a television product. And Michigan, Alabama is going to do numbies. And Michigan beating a wounded Florida State team, as deserving as they are, and they are, it's a travesty, is not going to do numbies. This is a numbers-based game. They are a political organization that makes political decisions. They are not a football organization that makes football decisions. It's always important to remember this. So, I didn't think they'd do it. I didn't think that they would kick out an undefeated major conference champion from the playoff. But I'm also not surprised. Time for the of the week. Stratford 46, Hawley 6. And I want to make sure we're being very clear here. The is not that Stratford won.
No, I said on the show on Friday I thought Stratford
You thought Stratford was going to win.
The is the score. The margin by which it was done.
That is a defending, I'm going to point to him. That right there is a defending state champ. Mm-hmm. That right there is a 2-time state finalist. Mm-hmm. Remember, they made it in 2021 as well.
Played Shiner.
They'd won that region 2 years in a row. And to beat them by that scoreline, 46-6, a 40-point win, that certainly had me going, huh? And now, by the way, Stratford Toller. Oh.
So good.
Makes me want to have another sip of delicious community coffee.
Ew. Not to community coffee, to the noises that you make when you drink your community coffee.
Wild stat of the week. It's important to remember that this was not the state regional finals for everybody. This was the state semifinals in 6-man football. Mm-hmm. We had 4 state semifinals, and we have punched our first 4 tickets to AT&T Stadium. In 1A Division II, Benjamin back to defend their crown. They will take on first-time finalist Oglesby. Mm-hmm. Got our first timer. I always like when we have new blood.
Oh,
that's exciting. I'm excited. And by the way,
Benjamin number 1 and Oglesby number 2 in the preseason.
Who would have guessed?
The other game is 1A Division I is going to be Westbrook and Gordon.
Number 1 and number 2 in the preseason.
But I want to talk about Gordon's defense, okay? When we think of 6-man football, we think of offense, right? Understandably so. They beat Jonesboro 54-18 in the regional in the state semifinal. 54-18. They mercy ruled them. By the way, Benjamin won. I got to look up the score, but Klondike only scored 4 points. They kicked a 6-man field goal, which is ultra rare. Anyway, that's exciting only to me. This is through their first 14 games, Gordon has allowed 116 points. 116 points. 8.2 points per game. Okay? That is pretty remarkable for six-man football.
Oh, that's insane.
Pretty
that's remarkable for any team, much
so
less six-man.
That's what I want to tell you. Okay? At 8.2 points per game, they would have the 10th best scoring defense in all of 11-man football.
Oh, my God. That has to be number one in six-man then.
Oh, by a mile.
It has to be.
By a mile. The second best defense, according to the numbers I can pull up real quick, in UIL is Whiteface, which gave up about 14.5 points a game. So they're clear by 6 points per game.
Insane.
Gordon's defense is exceptional. It's going to be a fantastic way to kick off state championship weekend because Westbrook, the two-time defending champs, and Gordon, going to be good stuff. Time for the final rendition. Sad to say. The final edition.
I wonder if we'll get any dogs at state.
Ooh. Time for the Matt Step. He got that dog in Player of the Week.
And now, the Matt Step. He got that dog in him. Player of the Week.
What's up, y'all? Matt Step, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and I'm here to bring you the winner of the regional final edition of the Matt Step, He Got That Dog in Him Award. And the winner of this week's Matt Step, He Got That Dog in Him Award is none other than Albany running back Adam Hill. Adam Hill in Albany's 52-14 win over Collinsville on Thursday night had 223 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. He also made a crazy sick one-handed catch for a 24-yard touchdown in the win, and he was also a menace on the defensive side of the ball. Congrats, Adam. You, sir, have got that dog in you.
This has been the Matt Step He Got That Dog in Him Player of the Week.
There it is, the Matt Step. He got that dog in Player of the Week. We'll see if we can do something at state. You have my attention, Glen Rose. The Tigers are back into a state semifinal. Remember, Glen Rose started 1-4.
Mm-hmm.
They were like...
After making it to a state semifinal last year.
But remember,
right?
with Glen Rose, they graduated real heavy. Yeah, they made a semifinal. Remember, they gave Carthage a real scare.
Yeah.
They graduated super heavy, and I'll be honest, when they got to 1-4, I was like, yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you lose a transcendent class. And now they're into a state semifinal. Cliff Watkins knows what he's doing up there. Get excited for Gunner versus Canadian, Volume 7.
They just keep doing it.
This is the 7th meeting in 8 seasons for Gunner and Canadian in the state semifinal. It is almost too close to call, in my opinion. And it'll be great. Friday in Abilene.
Mm-hmm.
Good game. Final thought. It's the final thought every time we do the final episode of Monday Morning Fallout of the season. The cruelest round. For those who are longtime viewers of the show, you'll just have to suffer through me saying this again. The semifinals of the Texas High School Football Playoffs are by far, undoubtedly, 100% the worst round to lose in.
Yes.
The worst round to lose in.
By a mile.
If you lose in the first round, if you get launched into the sun 100-0 in the first round of the playoffs,
you know what? You made it to the playoffs.
Thanks for coming. If you lose in the regional semifinals, you lose Thanksgiving weekend, you got to practice on Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Great year. This moment right here, you are 48 minutes away from being remembered forever. Even if you lose.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you lose. Even if you get beat 160-0 on national television. You get to be in the state championship, play on the big stage, and be remembered forever.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember every state championship team I've watched.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I can remember, aside from like Gunner Canadian, right?
Right.
The teams in the semifinals. This is it. It all comes down to this. If you win this week, you're etched in history. And if you don't, it's Monday Morning Fallout. Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.